Welcome, everyone, to GNU Presents Performance Feast, Artists in Community. Who's ready to feed your mind and nourish your heart? We seek to expand our grassroots community of connected artists by engaging in artistry-focused conversation. This series is made possible by the voters of Minnesota through a grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board, thanks to a legislative appropriation from the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. Tonight's special guest is Carolyn Leonhart, a soulful singer, stunning intelligence with a voice that is absolute magic, the Jazz Times said. Award-winning vocalist Carolyn Leonhart has released 4 critically acclaimed solo albums, which have been on jazz radio charts worldwide. Carolyn has been a member of the iconic jazz rock group Steely Dan for over a decade, appearing as featured backup vocalist on every album and every tour, including the multi-Grammy Award-winning Two Against Nature. Carolyn has toured and performed with Jarreau, McDonald, Boz Scaggs, Enya, and the Charles Mingus Big Band, Pete Jones, Catherine Russell, and was recently featured at Jazz at Lincoln Center. In late 2017, Carolyn made her acting debut and received critical acclaim for her performance in the Off-Broadway musical Cross That River. Please welcome Carolyn Leonhart and GNU's Artistic Director and Performance Feast host, Mo Field. Some quick housekeeping: you can change your Zoom view up in the top right corner to side by side to see both panelists and the screen share. The chat function and Q&A will be available tonight. While using the chat function, please make sure to send it to all panelists and attendees. Take it away, Mo.
Hey, thank you, Magic Voice. Yeah, groovy music. First of all, everybody out there in webinar land, let's welcome Carolyn. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hi. Oh, really, this is very cool. We've had some really good discussions for all the people out there that don't know that we've had good discussions. We've had some great discussions, and this is going to be a really fun and rich evening of conversation and some really cool and inspiring videos that we've got selected for you. Now, the first thing I have to do, I want you to just tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, what are some of the things that super make you like enjoy your life and really tick?
You're talking to me, right?
I'm talking to you.
All right.
You're there.
Enjoying. Those are big questions.
Those are big questions.
I mean, obviously, like music, my son, honestly, having another day at this point,
Right.
Just hope, and every moment that I can, honestly, man, it's laughter. You know what? It's just, that is the only, laughter is the thing.
That's the secret, is it?
It is, right? It gets you through. It always gets me through. That's what I'm just always I just try to keep people around me who are hilarious.
Right.
Musical too, but hilarious. If I have to choose, and I hope I don't ever have to.
Right.
So, tick, there's so many things, ignorance, fear, lack of courage, selfishness. I mean, a lot of those things. We all
a lot of those things. Yeah, I suffer those same things too. Now, one of the things we talked about earlier, and I just want everybody to know this right from the very, very beginning, is that not only is Carolyn an exquisite performer and a great teacher, she's also really got her own take on being a student. Now, you're studying. You just continue to study.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so I never studied music. I mean, I really didn't study music. I grew up in a family of jazz musicians. My dad's an iconic jazz bass player, composer, singer. And I was just singing as soon as I could talk. I was following him around to every gig that I was allowed to go to, and he let me go to a lot, and every studio session and everything. So music was just sort of in my veins, and I sort of feel like it was religion in our household, And so then ultimately, and I grew up in New York City, so I started singing professionally a little bit.
Right.
And ultimately, for high school, I went to music and art. So technically, I did study music there, but I did everything by ear. And the academic part of music to me never connected to the music I was making. Like everything I did musically was by ear. And then when I studied music theory, that was math, got an A. Studied music
Right.
history, that was
So
history.
So you're a music kind of math person.
I wouldn't say it was, I mean, I like math, I guess. Yeah. But I just, in the moment, I was like, sure, let's do this. But I just didn't connect the two. So fast forward to years later, like I've been very lucky. I've had some wonderful opportunities as a singer, and I've managed to make a career out of it and make a living and continue to sort of just try to, take advantage of any opportunity to sing. But it got to the point where I really didn't have a background in certain things. And finally I realized, like, wow, this stuff isn't, teaching actually taught me that, I can teach certain things to people. I watch people walking around with so much anxiety about the holes in their knowledge, and I'm just like shining light in those areas and giving them the courage to look.
Right.
And honestly, it's an honor to create that moment or help them see that. And I realized, like, I could do the same thing for me. I could just like take classes. So finally, I mean, even while teaching, I decided, well, you know what? I'm just going to get my master's in jazz performance. So I started a while ago, and it's taken me far too long because I am juggling, a career and having a kid, touring, teaching, and everything else. But it is the greatest thing. And at some point I will finish the degree, and I don't know what I'm going to do then, because I have to just keep learning and studying, because it's the greatest thing. Just, the more everyone says it, but it's true. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, and I'm just getting used to being frustrated all the time, and I love it. And then I also, those moments where something clicks and it's like, oh my God, I actually just learned something. That's so great.
I know, right? I mean, we take passive learning, like tour experience. We take all of this for granted, but then the formal, when you put that together with formal stuff, we're going to talk about this a little bit right after I show the world, in our little world here, exactly who you are, what you do. We've got a couple of videos actually, and I want to show a snippet of the first snippet, because you have such breadth to what you do. Your vocal ability is just so incredibly seismic. It's fantastic. So I want to show a couple of clips so people get a chance to see, there's that gigging musician with the band on the road doing the tour stuff. And then there's this other side of you where you bring in this true vulnerability into your performances, and let us see this other side of you. It's kind of like this, here's the entertainer that's really good at like wowing the crowd. And then here I am with nuance. And this is like me coming out of my mouth, it's just so charming. So I'd like to show a little bit of the first one, and probably we'll cut it a little bit short, and then we'll skip over to the second one. Is that okay with you?
Of course.
All right. Sure. Fantastic. Okay. So this first clip, everybody, oops, that was the wrong clip. Oh, let me get this clip up. There we go. So this first clip, some of you might notice that a couple of the people on stage here. I think in this clip, we've got Michael McDonald on stage, Donald Fagen, and Boz Scaggs. Is that correct? Yep. All right.
Oh, yeah. This is from this must have been from the Dukes of September tour. Yeah.
Yeah. So who are the Dukes of September? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
That was the name that they put together. The three of them decided to do a tour. So I'm from the Steely Dan camp. I've worked with Steely Dan for a very, very, very long time. Yes, they are fantastic. Rest in peace, Walter. And but Donald, they're always doing their own projects. So of course, Michael McDonald had worked with Steely Dan on lots of recordings and stuff like that. And he used to come and sit in at some of our shows, and we've actually done double billings. And then they decided to do this tour, Boz Scaggs, Michael McDonald, and Donald Fagen, called Dukes of September, triple billing. And they brought most of the Steely Dan band with them. They only used 2 backup singers. I was very lucky to be one of them. It was myself and the great meet Catherine Russell, who is a powerhouse of a human. And if you don't know her, you should meet her. Oh my goodness, you have to meet Catherine. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Anyway, yeah, with Cat. And Kat and I both got featured. So we would go down, we would do duets with them, and Kat got to do the duet with Michael McDonald. I was so jealous. Every night I was like, oh my gosh, she's so lucky. And then, yes, amazing. And then, we each did like a feature tune. So I had notes say, Donald would just say, you're doing this time, this tour, you're doing this tour. And he gave me, like Aretha tunes. So that's great. You're not like setting the bar high or anything.
Right, right.
Anyway, every night I had to get out there and be like, sorry, everybody.
It's me.
Yeah.
But man, okay, world, you're going to just love this. Yeah, I mean, for some of you who don't know who the players in the bands are for these favorite bands that a lot of you have, I mean, they're some of the best musicians you will ever know in the world. So let's just take a quick little peek at this here. I'm going to share this with you.
Well, we're not going to do that one. Actually, we're going to do a previous version. I don't know how many of you remember. A couple of years before he had that hit, there was a great version by Gladys Knight and the Tips. It was a top 10 hit. To do it for you right now, let's have a big hand for Carolyn Leonhart.
I bet you wonder how we knew. Baby, got your plans to make you blue. With some other girl you found. Between the two of us, girls, you know I love you more. It took me by surprise, I must say. When I found out that you didn't know, but I heard it through the grapevine.
All right. There you go. I know. It's so hard to watch yourself on film doing your thing.
My God. Oh my God. Just leading into Kat's voice. Yes, that was Kat.
Oh,
and my brother is
yes, I am.
Yeah, and Kat, and the trumpet player is my brother, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yes, my brother and I joined the Steely Dan band the same year, and so it's like summer camp for us, and we go.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
now,
fun.
it's really refreshing, to know that, for a lot of the people that are watching tonight, they will not have had this experience of, being in a touring band at this level where you're playing to like huge arenas and stuff. So it's important for them to know that experience is no different than any other vocal musician who is seeing themselves on screen, listening to themselves perform, judging, what they could have done better, where they've come from, all of this other stuff. Do you want to share a little bit about that? Like, it's a great equalizer to hear from people, with your experience, that we are literally all just the same.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, the process is the process. Like, I mean, at this point, I have a sense of humor about it, like seeing that. And of course, I mean, I look at that and the way I get through it is I remember everything around that period and the touring and the amazing group and the camaraderie and like all the musicians. And of course, oh my God, I haven't seen them in, my brother I've seen, but, okay, I've seen Kat too. We had dinner last week. Fine, we're vaccinated.
Cool.
But you know, I remember all that you can't see on that video, you know, which is really the powerful part of it to me. I mean, if I start listening to my singing, I'm like, oh my God, if I look at what I'm doing, I mean, it's comical to me. It's like, it's embarrassing. It's totally embarrassing.
So you feel self-conscious about watching yourself
Yeah.
on screen. Now, people in the audience would be like, I'm loving this, I'm digging this, and they're giving you all that vibe. But as performers on the inside, we always wear that sort of, if we are a vulnerable performer, if we are an outreaching performer, if we are connecting with our audience, there's always that raw spotness, and we always see that when we watch ourselves back.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, to be a performer and to give something like that, you have to, if you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable, right? I mean, it's not a game, it's not a joke. If you keep some veneer of like perfection, the audience feels it and sees it. So you've got to allow yourself to go, you know, peel off the layers and go pull from as deep as you can and give as much as you can. You know, I look at that and I'm like, man, why didn't I give more? Why didn't I go deeper? Why am I just doing this flouncy, whatever? I mean, you know, at the same time, that was the best I could do that day. I have to be at peace with that. You know, that was the best I could do in that moment. And in that moment, all you can do is just try to go as deep as you can and give as much as you can to these people who have actually decided. I mean, obviously they didn't come to see me, but even harder, right? They didn't come to see me. They're just waiting. I'm like filler for everybody else. And yet they're standing there. Not everybody left, right? To go to the bathroom and get popcorn or beer, whatever.
Right.
It's like, it is my duty to give of myself and to honor them and just be like, thank you for letting me even try. And thank you for sharing this moment with me and choosing to be here. You know, like you spent money to come here. You deserve everything. You deserve everything I can give you. And that process of trying to just do that, you have to honor that and appreciate it. Of course, in the moment, you have to just say, I'm just going for it. I'm going to go for it. It's hard to listen to it back and watch it back because it was a moment. It was not meant to be, you know, immortalized.
Right.
On film, on the films.
Or like Joni Mitchell said, you know, from the stage, like when people were yelling out, you know, things that they wanted her to play, she's like, yeah, nobody ever said to Van Gogh, hey, paint a starry night again, man. Like, you know, this recreative art that like is momentary, that disappears, which is music. We're going to show everybody the other side of who you are. This again, a fantastic clip. And I'm really happy that we're able to see what you were just talking about, that vulnerability, bringing that thing from inside, coming to a new place.
Unless the words change. I used to count on springtime. Let's see what life will bring time. But now the drifts are piling at the door, and the weatherman says brace for more. They say the snow can't last all year, dear, and bluebirds will sing. The sun will shine again, yes, I hear those rumors of spring. You never know how hearts will splinter, how memories will come, until your world becomes a
Oh my God.
Last night I dreamed we had and you wore my ring. You swore we'd always be together. More rumors.
Lovely. That was lovely. Absolutely lovely.
Thank you. And that was my brother again on trumpet. I don't go anywhere without my brother on trumpet.
Our brother will travel.
That's right.
So much texture in there. Now, I was listening to this and all I could think of was like, if your voice were like, if you were singing your tessitura were maybe like a fourth lower, I'd be like, this is like Irene Krall. Do you know Irene Krall? And if you don't,
Yeah,
Irene Krall.
I haven't.
She died in the 70s, like in a car accident or something. Just an incredible vocalist. And
Yeah.
interestingly, I can almost hear some influence from her. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I will try and find a little clip of her singing.
Oh, cool.
So that I can share it with you at some point, because I think you'd be very, very interested. Now, let's talk a little bit about influences. So what influences you? Like, now you've got your master's in jazz vocals and
Not yet.
you're
And jazz performance, not jazz vocals.
jazz performance. I stand corrected. Now, clearly,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most important things that a vocalist can do as a musician is use our number one instrument, which is our ears, and allow ourselves to be influenced by others. You know, as a musician, we imitate, then we assimilate, then we start innovating at some point.
Yeah.
What has some of your journey been like? Like, what are some of the people that have really inspired you to want to explore your voice because of the way they were singing that made you think, I want to be as exploratory as they are?
So when I was very young, the people I was hearing tons of music, but to be honest, I just didn't respect, like I was very moved by, Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, and Chaka Khan. That's who influenced me when I was young. So I didn't, when you're sort of in that plane, then even if you get to hear Sarah Vaughan live, to me, I was just like, she's boring. I mean, I can say that. I really thought she was boring when I first heard her. Sad as it is. And I told you, Mel Torme, I thought he was great, but like, I just couldn't appreciate, I wasn't there yet. I couldn't hear it,
Right.
And then when my dad bought me like a Sarah Vaughan and an Ella Fitzgerald CD when I was maybe 15, and I checked it out and I was like, meh, okay. But by that point I was deep into like a gospel choir, and that was sort of my thing. And then like a year or two later, I listened to those CDs again, and then it was mind blowing.
It clicked.
Yeah. So I got very into, I loved vocal jazz, but I was always sort of caught between the two worlds of like jazz and like R&B soul. And the thing was, I didn't feel caught, but especially at that time in the industry, you were caught. Like everyone was trying to pigeonhole me, and I just was not having it at all. And I really rebelled to the point of like, I really did some, I was just I was not into that. Also, to be fair, looking back, I grew up around with a bass player who was like the ultimate sideman, and I
Right.
loved how he got to bounce from like gig to gig to gig and group to group and just like be present in that moment. Like, what are we doing? How do I augment? How do I make this
Right.
moment? How do I get inside it and make it better? And I think I always loved that too.
How do I get
So,
inside it and make it better? That's,
yeah, I try, you know.
and try to, yeah.
Yeah.
That it's a really great attitude.
And I mean, I'm not saying that like I chose to not be some kind of huge headlining world famous star, and because I'm saying my journey
Follow
was
what
my
you
journey.
follow.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I never, people were asking, like a couple labels were interested and they wanted me to be certain, they're like, who are you? I'm like, I don't know. I just want to make cool music, and how dare you? I'm just like, I won a big jazz award, but I was like, I don't consider myself a jazz singer, which at the time was really a lot.
Right.
To do, like not at the Kennedy Center, like, I'm not a jazz singer, I'm just a singer, But at the same time, that's sort of how I feel, And of course now, like the musical world is opened up, so it's thank goodness it's not like that anymore. I forgot the question.
You know what? That doesn't
Sorry.
matter because we went in a great direction here. That was an excellent direction. Now I'm going to pull us back to. I'm going to share a clip because I have lots of Irene Kroll here. So I'm going to share sound with everybody so that you get a chance to hear Irene Kroll. I think you'll really be. I'm really excited to actually like play this for you and see what you think about this person. I think she's fantastic. We can go down the lineage of how many people have been.
Where is love? Does it fall from skies above? Is it underneath the willow tree that I've been dreaming of? Where is he? Who I close my eyes to see. Will I ever know that sweet hello that's meant for only me?
So we can go on and on from there, but that's just a little snippet. It's interesting to not see, but be able to hear. Now, there's some stylistic things of the era there for sure, but so what are some of your thoughts when you hear this person for the first time?
I mean, I've heard her a little bit, but I definitely have not checked her out enough. And she comes up, and I'm like, right, oh my God, I gotta check out Irene Kroll. I'm going to say something which I'm going to regret, because it's the kind of thing like you don't say, and maybe it's just because I just finished teaching this semester, but because pitch is not like a musical
Right.
attribute.
It's not an area.
Yeah, except that there's something like, except if you're not in tune, like nothing else matters as far as like it's just distracting. Like I can't get inside it.
Right.
And there's something about like, beautiful pitch just opens a doorway to being able to connect on a whole other level, I would say. So I'm going to say like her pitch is so stunning, even though that's like the least interesting thing about her musically. It's just the places she goes, there is such a fluid vulnerability, but also just not a confidence, but just you trust. There's such a trust when you're listening to her. It's like, oh my God, yes, I can give you my trust as a listener. for everything you're doing, because it's just, I don't know even know how to say it, but it's just, I mean, her phrasing is beautiful. I love, analytically, like how she's altering, and how she's playing around. That's just, freedom and just expansive moment, taking the moment and just honoring the song. And, that's just that incredible balance of, when someone can totally honor the song as it is and also play with it. Like what you do with it honors what it is, and that's a very hard thing to do.
It is. And
As
this
a
is the
jazz
nature,
singer,
I was going to say, this is the nature of jazz, that you have to be in that moment. You have to be responsive to that inner feeling, to that external pressure from who's watching, who's observing you, how you're observing yourself, how you're feeling in that moment. What I love about her pitch is that she plays just under it and then just kind of lets it levitate and adds a bit of vibrato to bring her right into that balance point. And I just like she puts a hurtin' on everything. Anyway.
It's really like it's hypnotic, really, what she's doing. Thank you for more detailed analysis of it. Yeah, it's powerful. That's powerful. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I was listening to like Carmen McRae and then Sarah Vaughan, of course, and
Nancy Wilson.
Oh my God,
master of bending.
Please, yeah.
Right?
Lorez Alexandria. Have you ever checked out Lorez Alexandria?
Oh, no, gonna write
a
this
little
down.
known. I went, many years ago, like right after college, I came back to the city, and there were singers around doing stuff, and I went to some singer's gig, and she sounded like amazing, and I looked at her and I was like, how? And I looked at everyone in the band. I'm like, I knew the guys in the band. I was like, who is she? How is she doing this? And they were like, listen to Lorez Alexandria. She literally just sang the famous Lorez Alexandria album the way she copped all her stuff. So if you didn't know Lorez Alexandria, you were like, oh my God, what? It was great.
Of course.
Lorez Alexandria.
Okay, Lorez Alexandria, everybody. Somebody please put that in the chat.
Why she didn't have a huge career, I don't know.
See, some of my favorite musicians will never be the headlining musicians, but that's now I'm going to take us in a different direction here. So we were talking earlier about being vulnerable on stage and like being in the moment and letting roll with it. So we're going to move on to this classic clip of Leslie Uggams making it happen, making it work. And confession to everybody out there, the musical from which this piece comes, I actually played Nettie Fowler in this musical. If you know the name of the musical, put it in the chat, and you will get my amazement and nothing else. Maybe we'll mail you a GNU mug or something. So Nettie Fowler, what is the musical? This is the quiz. What is the musical? This song will definitely be the giveaway for it. This is such a great clip. This is such a great little clip. Aha! Jim Emery for the win. We have a winner.
A musical play must have music. And there's only one thing that it has to be. It has to be good. Well, in Oscar's case, as these songs will attest, it was better than good. It was extraordinary.
June is busting out all over the meadow and the hill. But the busting out of bushes and the rumbling river riches, all the little wheels that wheel beside a mill. June is busting out all over the tents. And the individual riches, and they hucking up the cheapest out of all the morning glories on the fair. Because it's June. June, just because it's June.
Miss Uggams.
A musical play must have.
Nope, not hearing you.
I'm on mute. There you go.
Okay.
Like I haven't been on Zoom all year.
So it's the first time.
Leslie Uggams, I know, right? Leslie Uggams making it work. The symphonies and the Jesus and the
hummins and the nummins and the hummins and the hummins.
Like you don't stop when you're in that moment. You keep flowing. And you said to me in one of our conversations, you said music is motion. You said that to me. Your words. Music is motion. So
Wait, music is motion. Oh yeah.
music is motion. So now, when I think about the idea of music is motion, can you give us some examples, like from your real life experience, when you've been in the moment, when the stakes have been high, and everything's going to hell in a handbasket, and you had to pull something out? Do you have some road stories you can tell us and share with us, and the solutions? Because, let's face it, all the performers that are watching tonight are like,
Yeah.
me too. I want to know how to get out of it. That's what I have to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can tell, I'm sure there are lots of things, probably some that I've blocked out. But, I mean, the first
Handling.
thing, yeah. The first thing that I will say is just that, I love when I've had conversations with other singers or new professional singers, you say like, well, what's your process before a gig? And I'm almost like, what do you mean? Just like get dressed, get to the gig on time, hopefully warm up if I can, sometimes on the subway, whatever it takes. And, I usually ask them first, I'm like, well, what do you mean? And they say theirs. It's like, I get a massage or do a thing. I'm like, oh my God, I want your life. My point is that you got to make it work no matter what's going on. And it's extremely rare that we get to operate under perfect circumstances,
Right.
And it's more common that things are unexpected and there are complications. That's reality. That's definitely in the music industry. And that's definitely, being a singer. I mean, if you're lucky and you're busy, it's like you're running from one gig to the other. If you're really making a living as a singer, if you're obviously a headlining artist and you're only doing your thing, okay. But then you're spending hours and hours and hours every day doing PR and doing stuff when you're the product and everybody's trying to come at you and everything like that.
Yep.
That's nonstop. And then you've got to be at the top of your game vocally and obviously as a performer as well. If you're a working singer and you're really working, you're sort of just constantly navigating everything, right? You're at everybody's beck and call, and you have to be whatever anybody wants you to be at that time. Hopefully you find a niche. People call you for certain things that you do. But it's very hard to turn down gigs, right?
Yes.
And if you're not feeling great, it's very hard to be like, I'm not at my best, so I'm going to get a sub, I
Right.
mean, sure, I've subbed for lots of people. I very rarely call subs. And I remember like once I had to do a gig, not a high stakes gig at all, but it was just like a private event or something somewhere. I committed to it, and it's just like a gig is a gig for me. It's like if it pays and I committed to it, I don't care if it's $50 or, 10,000. It's like you can't equate
cancel
value
the
with
gig.
money because you just don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And it's just, yeah. So it was a small little private event thing, but in the city. So you never know what that's going to mean. And I lost my voice. And I'm not condoning singing when you really lose your voice. I definitely encourage you to go on vocal rest for at least 24 hours, see how you feel, and then go to your doctor and obviously do everything right. I do everything right. So I knew I had a little wiggle room.
Right.
And I said, I'm going to do the gig because, again, it's kind of background music, and I'm just going to explore what I had. I had about 5 notes to work with. And I was a background gig, so I was like, you know what? Let me just see. And I had a really interesting gig using those 5 notes. I think it opened up, by 5 notes, I mean like a perfect fifth of a range.
Yeah, right.
And it probably opened up to about an octave towards the end. But like I was just doing all the tunes, just seeing like, well, how do I get through this? That was one example where it wasn't really high stakes, but it was like, I'm not going to do something I can't do. I don't want
Right.
to sound bad. I definitely don't want to hurt myself. I know what I have and what I don't. And actually I did a gig last year too, which I almost canceled because I had lost, and I never used to lose my voice. And now since, I don't know, the last couple of years. And I said, I'm going to do the gig. I'm very limited vocally, and either my voice is going to like sort of warm up and open up, or it's going to stay, or it's going to shut down. If it shuts down, I'll just have the band play. My band's amazing, and 3 sets of them playing is fine. I got lucky; it opened up. The hardest part was I was touring and I had walking pneumonia,
Right.
and I think I had actually had the flu like the month before. It was a really bad time. I just went down hard. And canceled what I could cancel, but then a tour was starting, and my doctor was like, no, they're like, well, just stay in bed whenever you're not on stage. I was like, all right. So I was okay, and I was getting through. And then one night at the Beacon Theater in New York, I was with Steely Dan. We were doing the show, and the base of my tongue, the muscles, tensed up and everything locked up. And suddenly my throat, not my throat, but the base of my tongue just got so tight and couldn't move. It was
Like a
stuck.
cramp, like a Charles
And
horse in your tongue.
it was, yeah. And it was really, that had never happened to me before. I mean, it just, nothing was moving. And obviously the larynx went with it. It was just like, oh. And it was like the song before I had a step out feature. And then it was towards the end where like I had the step out, like I sing a verse of a song. And then we go into all like the power songs towards the last, 20 minutes of the set. And I was like, oh God. And that was very scary. It happened in the middle of a song. And I had to just fake it a little bit, but I couldn't sort of stand there and start like doing any kind of manual massage. At one point I think I did turn around and do a little bit, but I literally spoke to my tongue. I literally talked to my tongue, and I just said, look, you can release, you can relax, we can get through this.
What else can you do?
Yeah. And I really got my tongue muscles to release and relax. And I got through the show. I did what I had to do. I hit every note and I'm the high part. So, I'm all over the place, but there was some, at the end of like the loud, long, high stuff. And I got through it. And that experience reminded me just, there's all this mindset science that's out. And there's a phenomenal book I would recommend everyone read called The Upside of Stress.
Ah, okay.
Unbelievable. And I won't.
The Upside of Stress. I'm gonna put that.
Check it out.
Upside of Stress.
Check it out.
I'm just going to put that in the. So
yes,
people can
do it.
Remember that.
Yeah.
Wow,
but it's just how we experience something and what we add to it and how we perceive it, really impacts how we get through it. And that's when I realized, like, it's not a joke. We have a lot of power to impact our moments. And when you're on stage, whatever happens, you don't give up. All you can do is take the information you have in the moment and make the best choice.
Yeah.
And hopefully all the information is making choices easy. Sometimes it's horrible. I mean, there was one time I was on stage and we tried a new arrangement of something, and there were like 13 people on stage, all phenomenal musicians, and the song took a turn that was so bad that it was actually impressive. It was so impressive. Like, it should have stopped. And it didn't stop either. It's like there was two keys happening simultaneously. Nobody knew who to trust. No one knew who to dictate to. The person who was in charge of the whole thing, like, wasn't listening, I think, on stage. And it was just bad, and it kept going. And so we were all like, okay, this is happening, and it's not stopping, and we don't know how to make it stop. And we all literally are just like, don't know how to resolve it, don't know what we're doing, and we were just like, well, what do we do? We just kept going, and obviously it did end because we're not there anymore.
Right.
But we've all, when we talked about it, like, that really happened, right? Nobody has a recording of that, like that. Crazy stuff happens, and you just.
I've been in situations like this, actually playing bass, when my in-ears, for some reason, like, they came unplugged. I couldn't hear anything because, everything's through the monitor. So I can't hear my bass. I'm like looking at my hands to like, am I in the right key? I don't know if I'm in the right key. And suddenly I realized I'm playing like everything like a semitone away from the rest of the band. And it's like, this has got to sound awful out there. But I'm just like, I just like shifted back into the key I was supposed to be in. And it's like, that's jazz, just picking that stuff up. Like, this happens. Like, sometimes it happens, especially with the amplified instruments. You can't hear.
Well,
when you're singing, sometimes you can't hear.
A friend of mine, last summer when, everybody could only do stuff outside in the city, and everyone was just desperate to do stuff. I went to Riverside Park to see a friend of mine perform, phenomenal jazz singer, and watching the set. And of course I was just like overwhelmed with emotion just to be out and seeing him and hearing him and everything. And he was great, but when I went up to him afterwards, he was just like not at all happy. And he said that something, God, what happened? The generator blew or something that was amplifying everything. And so something happened wherein everything was coming out a half step above or something. Like he was hearing everything a half step off. So
Right.
he was singing acoustically and hearing himself a half step off. Like it was just some kind of like psychological warfare experience
Right.
where you have to keep singing in that key and you're
Right.
hearing it a half step above.
We are vulnerable as
It's like, oh my
vocalists.
God.
We are totally vulnerable to pitch.
Yeah.
We are a slave to this.
I mean, yeah, it's just you got to just learn to just go with God, and know. I mean, yeah, and the whole like sound systems. You don't what you're hearing. You don't know if you're going to hear yourself or not, and what you're hearing may not be what the house hearing is. Usually, it's not. And it's
and
just
you got to
you
try
gotta-
and not push.
Yeah. Oh God, pushing is the worst. Yeah. I mean, if you. I mean, I've fallen prey to it too, where I've belted through something, and then I heard it back, and I was like, what?
Yeah. What
What was I doing?
That's
What
a
was I
tissue
doing?
cost. That's a.
I mean,
tissue
I
cost
can
with it.
belt, but that's the thing is like I can make choices, but it's like, man, know the room. Why did I do that? That was not a belting moment. Like I didn't
Right.
even realize I was belting. It was like a sort of a jazz, more soft thing, but I just couldn't hear.
Well, we're trying to be our own monitors, right?
Yeah, it's rough.
So
it's rough.
we're going to listen to somebody that knows how to control some of this stuff. And I just took the last, folks, please forgive me. I just took the last 2 minutes of this incredible 7-minute performance. So this is something that you and I talked about earlier that was amazing. And I'm just watching the time. We've got a couple of, we've got like 12 minutes left, and we've got a few treats that we have to get to.
Okay.
And so this is a way to use your voice. Now, you know what I'm going to show, don't you?
Of course.
Yes. Okay, here we go.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Now, that is amazing.
I don't care how many times I've seen that. It doesn't
too.
matter.
I know.
Every time is the first time. I mean, the throat singing, her little Tuvin moment aside, the entire thing is just unbelievable.
That band,
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
tight as,
Wah.
amazingly tight.
Yeah.
So yeah, that there are so many things that we can do with our voices. And now you have a lot of colors in your voice. You go in a lot of different directions. Have you ever tried to do something like this? Or have you ever tried to study anything like this?
You know what? It's funny. There was actually years ago some guy who specializes in throat singing did a thing in New York at a teacher's apartment. I mean, her voice studio / apartment. and he was going to invite a small group of people, and so he lectured. I went. I was like, of course I need to know, and it was fascinating, and it was just like the overtones. I mean, you know, he makes it, of course, look very simple when he explains it and demonstrates. It's incredibly hard to do.
Right.
And I for me, it was like, you know, those pictures. I think they became popular in the '80s, like where you look and then if you glance away, you see something else.
Right.
So one of my eyes doesn't actually move.
Oh, really?
And and that's what I blame this on. Like I was never able to see those things.
Right.
And like I was a little kid and we would go to malls and my brother was always like, I can see it, I can see the horse, I can see the horse. And I would just get so frustrated and freak out. So I had that kind of like response to stuff like that.
Right.
And that was the response. I sat there and I'm just like, no! I'm like, I blame my eye. I can't do the throat singing.
I know some things it's just
Sorry,
like.
that was a lot. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. Some things are just like, that's going to be a whole other study and I'm going to get to it. It's in my list of things to do.
Yeah, I just don't know that I have the, 10 years to move to a mountaintop and practice that. And it didn't take him 10 years. He nailed it and it's amazing. But I was like, I don't think that's going to be my journey. But there are ways you can study it, yeah. Anyway, to use it and use it so musically and just like have it dance, like just, she's amazing.
Right?
Thank you for that.
I know. Lila Hathaway, so for those of you who don't know, this is the daughter of the late, great Donny Hathaway. I mean, and not enough can be said about Donny Hathaway. We actually haven't even covered really any Donny Hathaway. It's hard to find live clips of Donny performing. It's actually challenging.
Yeah, isn't there a whole concert? I think there's a whole concert, and there's a song that he does. It's just so beautiful and painful. Just he's playing guitar. I'll find some. I'll send you some.
Find it, and we'll do it on our next series for sure.
Yeah, we'll do.
So, okay, so a couple things that I want to, because we've got short time, and I want to play the Jill Scott clip last because it's just such a great clip. But so gospel has influenced you. You've studied jazz. I mean, the people that you've been able to see, we're just going to really quickly delve into just a little tiny snippet of Mel Torme. Okay. Everybody knows Mel Torme. Fantastic person, but I want to really save our last view. But let's just take this little look at Mel here, doing what Mel does. He was a drummer. He started as a drummer.
Ginger Rogers epic, circa 1936, a movie called
Sounds a little rough.
Now in this one, Fred Baby is once again in
the sound is
of Ginger Baby, and not
challenging on this one. So we're gonna have to skip Mel this time. I apologize.
The reason why I picked that one.
Yeah.
The reason why I picked that one is because that was my dad playing with him. That's why.
You know what? Let's just at least take a look.
Not realizing that half the videos feature my family. I didn't realize that.
Now this is really cool. Let's just at least take a look at your dad.
Yeah.
This is from an old Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers.
It's too bad the sound is.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. There he is.
Let's do a little more. John, will you join us on JS?
But you can hear just that little bit of him scouting there. An exquisite performer. I've seen him many times, and aging performers, they kind of develop their whole world of things, but and they go in their own directions. And Mel definitely did. I saw him later in his years, and the live version's on Spotify. Amelia lets us know. Yeah, and this is one of my partner's favorite pieces, actually. We've covered a lot in our talk. Is there anything you want to add to us? Is there anything you want to, we talked a little about, well, we didn't really talk about interacting with other musicians, which is one of the things that I wanted to get to with you. Like, how to keep a gig is usually not dependent on your talent.
I would say it does. I was lucky in that I grew up in the industry, but raised by a sideman in the industry, right? So again, it was the kind of thing of like, okay, I've been invited into this room, what's the game we're playing? How well, I don't mean a game like mind games. I'm saying if it's, a game, and just like, what's my role here? And how can I do the best job? How can I make it a better space? How can I enjoy myself as much as possible and make it a better space? And I just think that sense of, community is so important. And I've worked with a lot of people, and especially as a backup singer, I've had gigs where I've seen a lot of other singers come and then go, and it's most of the time it's because of attitude, and their lack of professionalism. Because the fact is that there are tons of great singers, there are, and we are all replaceable. And evidently, some of us can't speak. I mean, it's like there's another singer. There's always someone that can do what you're doing, But in the moment when it's you have to be the most open-hearted, kind, community-oriented person you can be, and that means when you're dealing with problems. I mean, sometimes you're like in a section with a small vocal section, and one singer just hands down can't do the part.
Right.
And it's just like, if you just go after them, it's not going to make the moment better. In the moment, you're all a team, right? The chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So if you're in a section and part of it's not failing, it's like you have to find a way to lift that person up or to make it sound good. Otherwise, you all go down together,
Right.
And if you start getting catty, you start getting competitive with other people, it's like, don't. I mean, my experience, if you make someone choose, they're not going to choose you, you know? So don't do that, and if you accept the fact that, like, there's room for all of us, there is. There just is. And we all make each other stronger, and we make more music, and it just creates more opportunities. And if we feel lucky for every chance we have to sing and to make music with other people, it's just, there's always a way to navigate and problem solve. And it's not that big a deal. But when people start adding like this kind of image, and of course, we also have to understand that we all get insecure, and insecurity manifests different ways. And sometimes it manifests by being like acting overconfident. But it's okay to be vulnerable and to be insecure. And the more you can sort of, be kind to yourself, I think you tend to be kinder to other people too. So it's hard, but you do have to be really careful to think about, how am I helping people? And is this helping someone?
Yes,
yes, and if someone said that to me, what would I do?
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
And inevitably, when you do screw up, when you do screw up, because we all do, have the courage to own it.
Right.
And
the
say,
humility.
like, wow, yeah, I'm sorry. When you can say that too, it's like,
Yeah. This is, I mean, you are definitely going to be coming back to our next series, because we have just touched on some of the stuff that you and I have talked about, like off screen. And there's just so much more to delve into around education, around, it's just so much more. But it is the time for us to play our final video. And I just have to say thank you very much for being our guest tonight, and sharing so much of your experience with us, and normalizing that experience of, we can be professional volunteers for many people watching. They're not professional paid musicians. And we were joking earlier, folks out there in webinar land, that being a professional musician does not mean you make money, by the way. That's a misnomer. But you do get to be on stages a lot. And you can be on a stage, whether you're on a stage in a massive theater or it's a community stage. It's the same process for everybody everywhere. And, keep your head on your shoulders, and just keep rocking and rolling, and be nice to people.
Yeah.
Be kind and look for your golden moments. See what I did there? So we're going to play one last video. We're going to go over just a little bit. Friends who've been with us from the beginning, this is our last of this particular series of Performance Feast. It's been a wild ride. It's been so fantastic. Carolyn was the perfect person to wrap us up tonight. We're going to be doing the series again down the road. So, expect an email coming from us when we gather for our next series of Performance Feast. And I'm sure Carolyn will be back to share more goodies with us as well. And we have a virtual show. Great Northern Union, our chorus, is putting on a virtual show. It premieres tomorrow night at 8 p.m. It's on demand on Vimeo. We're going to put up some information for you after this video, so stick around for that information. And we've got like the Philharmonic, Jennifer Scott, Renee Wurst, Robert Robinson, Sam Reeves. We've got some great artists, including our chorus, that's put together a lot of really cool stuff under the pandemic. And we've got some 5 fresh videos for you. So, all of that said, we are going to close it out now with Jill Scott singing Golden. And you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Just one of my favorite videos live. I mean, I could tell, I've just been such a huge fan of hers
Jill
ever
Scott.
since I saw her. Yeah, sub for Erica Badu in a show where like nobody subs for Erica Badu, and Jill Scott gently walked out on stage and tore the house down. It was just like, oh my God.
Right?
And I have to say, one of my dear, dear friends and one of the most phenomenal singers ever, Nikki Richards, is one of the backup singers too.
There you go. See, it's a community, baby. It's all about harmony. It's all about love and friends doing cool things. All right. Well, we'll close it out with this. Stick around, folks. We've got a little bit of a message after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome back one of R&B's golden voices, Jill Scott.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. I'm taking my freedom, pulling it off the shelf, putting it on my chain, ready from my neck. I'm taking my freedom, putting it in my car, wherever I choose to go. Yeah, it will take me far. Naturally, I'm strumming my own freedom, playing the God in me, representing His glory. I know He knows all of me. I know it, so I might as well just go ahead and show it. Living my life like it's important, like it matters. Anybody know what I'm talking about in here? Living my life right. Hey, yeah. Living my life like it's good and like it really matters.
Yes, a mighty yes, 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 a mighty yes. Living my life like it's golden. Oh, hello. Oh, hello, hello, hello. So
Wow.
good.
Wow.
Well, my dear friend, this has come to a close. I cannot believe it's gone so quickly, and there's so many things we didn't get to see.
I know. Next time, I hope.
Next time, definitely next time. And yeah, thank you everybody for attending. We've got, stick around. We've got a little trailer for you that we're going to play. Please enjoy this little trailer that's just about our chorus, and we want to let everybody know all about it. So it's pretty cool. I hope you'll enjoy this too. Oh, can you see it? You can see my whole screen. Can you see it? Is this playing? There you go. So that's a little bit of a snippet for you, folks. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. Magic Voice, are you there?
You bet, Mo. I've been
All
here
right.
the whole time.
All right, friends. So I just want to say again, thank you to Carolyn She's just such a dynamic person to have conversation with. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine in the future. We're going to sing, we're going to meet, we're going to visit, we're going to do all sorts of stuff, and we're going to make music happen, we're going to make harmony happen, and we're going to see you on the next series of Performance Feast. Thank you, folks, for being with us for these 12 sessions. It's been amazing. Please stick around, and Magic Voice will take it from here. Carolyn Leonhart, everybody, thank you one more time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carolyn and Mo, for a great Performance Feast series. Please take a moment, everybody, to fill out this quick poll that I am launching right now. Also, please take a second to follow us on Facebook and YouTube at The Great Northern Union, and on Instagram and Twitter at GNU Sings. This series is made possible by the voters of Minnesota through a grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board, thanks to a legislative appropriation from the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. Again, please visit gnupresents.com to purchase tickets for our Fill Your Soul premiering tomorrow night at 8 p.m. on Vimeo. Again, this has been GNU Presents Performance Feast. Feed your mind and nourish your heart.